Hello everybody and welcome to another Destiny build video. Today I have a build that performs extremely well in Grandmaster content. It's going to allow you to just hold the trigger down and go crazy. Now, most people can probably already tell what the idea of this build is just by seeing this clip right here. This is going to be using Sweet Business and Actium War Rig, allowing us to go absolutely crazy on every single enemy and almost never have to let go of the trigger. It's going to allow you to clear entire waves in literal seconds. It's going to allow you to also regain health on every single kill. It's going to let you get Overshield, making you even more defensible. It is insanely strong. It's also going to give you a ton of weapon damage bonuses to make your gun Sweet Business even better. So it is very, very easy to put this build together. Very simple exotics, very simple subclass idea. Super, super fun and good for pretty much all content. So let me show you how to replicate this build. Our exotic of choice is going to be the Actium War Rig. This is going to make it so that our auto rifles and technically machine guns will steadily be reloaded a portion of its magazine from reserves. And final blows with auto rifles or machine guns are going to boost their stability, ammo generation, and damage. Up next is going to be our stats here for our character, and we're going to want a 100 weapon stat. This is going to help increase reload speed and obviously our damage against minor and major combatants with our Sweet Business. So we're obviously going to want a 100, or at least as close as you can get to a 100 weapon stat. And then second, you're actually going to want to have as close to a 100 class stat. Funny enough, I don't have the best representation of that, only because of our armor set bonuses. There are two that we want to get, so that way we can take advantage of with this build. And obviously, I have certain stats with those pieces. That's why it doesn't look so good. But this build works perfectly fine, even with me at a 17 class. And of course, a 22 melee, which would be our secondary stat that we're going to want. So we're going to want weapons first at 100, then we're going to want a class at around 100, and then anything as high as you can get on a melee, that would be perfect. And as for the armor set bonuses, you're going to want the Tech Sec 2-piece, which is Wrecker. This will allow us to deal around a 200% increased damage to combatant shields, which is why we're going to want it. It'll also give it to Overshield's vehicles and constructs, but we mainly want it so that Sweet Business will burn through elemental shields. And then we're going to want Smoke Jumpers, which is Ride Together, Die Together. This is going to make it so that when we pick up an Orb of Power, we will get 45% damage reduction for 3 seconds. Every second, it goes down by 15% damage reduction. So for example, when you pick it up, you get 1 second of 45%. On your next second, you get around a 30, your next second a 15, and then obviously after that a 0. So this is going to make it though, since our whole entire build is around keeping up Orb of Power, this is going to be so good for this build, as it's going to tie in a ton of damage resistance, as well as everything else that we're going to get. Our weapon of choice is going to be the Sweet Business. Sweet Business has a 150 magazine. It's going to increase its accuracy when we're firing from the hip, and it's going to make it so that when we pick up special or heavy ammo, it will immediately reload the weapon. It's also going to make it so that when we have sustained fire, it will boost the range and the rate of fire. This is a insane weapon. Honestly, very underused on all 3 classes, if I'm being honest. It is very strong, it fires insane amounts, and it has the largest magazine, like, basically in the game. It is incredibly fun to use as well, but it is very, 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 very strong with Actium War Rig, hence why we're going to use it for this build. Now let's move on to our subclass, and we're going to be using the Sentinel subclass, aka Void. For our super, go ahead and throw on whatever super you would like. There is none that is required. For our class ability, we're going to want to go with Rally Barricade. This is going to allow us to shoot over our barricade, which is going to be pretty nice and helpful with this build, and I'll show you why when we get to our aspects. For your jump, go ahead and throw on whatever jump you are the most comfortable with. For your melee, you can technically use any melee you would like. Shield throw, personally though, seems to be my favorite, only because it can be thrown from a distance and on hits gives you Overshield, whereas Shield Bash has to be a full-on kill to give you Overshield. So I'm a little bit partial to Shield throw, but you can technically go ahead and use whichever one you would like. Same kind of principle for the grenade. Use whichever grenade you're most comfortable with. Our grenade is just an extra lovely bit to the build, but is obviously not required at all, so you can use whichever one you're most comfortable with. For your aspects, we're going to run Bastion and then Offensive Bulwark. Now, Bastion is very essential for this build because when we cast our barricade, it will grant Overshield to us and nearby allies. It will also empower it, enabling it to slowly regenerate the Overshield to us or allies just hiding behind it and extend our duration on it. So this is going to be extremely nice to have on, as this is what's going to keep us alive a lot. We're basically going to want to place our barricade, stand behind it, and just unleash Hellfire. That's going to be the main idea of this build. And then our next one's going to be Offensive Bulwark, but technically you can swap this out to literally anything that you want, any other aspect. And I'm not even joking when I say that, solely because Offensive Bulwark is very nice, because while we have that Overshield, our grenade will charge significantly faster. So that is really, really nice. But technically, you don't really need your grenade for anything in the fragments or anything else. The grenade is just an addition to the build. So you can technically swap this out for Unbreakable if you want, so that way you can just use your grenade charge to kind of create that wall. You can also put on Controlled Demolition if you'd rather try to create more volatile targets. It's really up to you, but I would recommend Offensive Bulwark as the second one. And last but not least for the fragments here, we have Echo of Persistence. This is going to increase how long Invisibility, Overshield, and Devour will be on us. Next will be Starvation. This way when we pick up a Void Breach or an Orb of Power, it will give us Devour. Then Vigilance, for defeating a target while our shields are depleted, gives us a temporary Void Overshield. And finally, Leeching. This is pretty much just kind of a throwaway fragment. Melee Final Blows will start health regen. There is technically no specific fourth fragment you're going to want on. You can throw on Obscurity if you wanted to. You can just throw on Provision if that was really what you wanted. It's really up to you. Even Expulsion you can throw on. Cessation you can throw on. Domineering. It really is up to you. Next, we have our armor mods here, starting with our helmet. We're going to put on a Kinetic Siphon. You can throw on one or you can throw on two. It's entirely up to you. And then your next two slots can be whatever you would like. If you would like hands-on, Ashes to Assets, Dynamo, Powerful Friends, one of the ammo finders, it's really up to you. Even Super Font is a good choice. It's up to you and how much space you have left depending on what kind of stat mod you put on. But you're going to want a Kinetic Siphon on for sure. For the gauntlets, we're going to put on Fastball and then Firepower and Heavy-Handed. This is another one where you're not really going to want Fastball, but it's just because due to stat mods, that is what I have on. But if you have the space, swap out Fastball for either Impact Induction, Bolstering Detonation, Focusing Strike, Momentum Transfer. You get the point. Put on something that will give you some more cooldown reduction when you get a hit with something. And then obviously our Orb of Power spawning mods here, Heavy-Handed and Firepower, is what you're going to want. Now for the chest piece, you're going to want to put on 2 to 3 resistance mods depending on whatever element the activity that you're doing has. For example, if you're doing an activity that has 50% incoming arc damage, then you're probably going to want to throw on 2 arc mods and possibly even a third. But a health font is also a very nice choice. This is entirely up to you. You can put on 1 health font if you'd like, maybe 2 if you really have the space for it. Otherwise, 2 resistance mods is going to be really nice. And 3 resistance mods if that is what you like more. For the legs, we're going to put on an Insulation and 2 Kinetic Weapon Surges. This is going to make us that we get a little bit back to our barricade every time we pick up an Orb of Power. And the 2 Kinetic Weapon Surges are going to make our sweet business do 17% more damage thanks to when we have armor charges. And last but not least, on my class item, I actually just have a ton of class fonts on. This is solely because my class stat is at a 17. Hopefully yours is more around a 70, 80, 90, if not a 100, which if it is, you're going to want to swap these out for a Reaper mod, possibly 1 to 2 Reaper mods like so, and then probably put on a distribution or maybe 2 distributions or a bomber and a distribution and at least 1 Reaper mod. So it is kind of up to you depending on what your stats are and if you have enough space. That is going to be what you want. Now our artifact brings us some good mods to add to the build. So let's start here with the first column, Overload Rapid Fire. This is going to make our auto rifles get overload champion stunning rounds. This is going to help obviously in higher end content with sweet business. So that's why I just wanted to highlight this one. For the next one, we have Light Forged Lead. Kinetic weapons gain increased ammo generation. Collecting an orb of power will increase this benefit for a short duration. This is going to help us generate more ammo and just a nice little extra thing to add to our orb of powers and our kinetic weapons in general. In our next column, we're going to want refresh threads. This is going to make so when we pick up an elemental pickup matching our subclass element, we get energy to our least charged ability. Now we're going to pair that with elemental coalescence here, which is defeating targets. We'll have a chance to create an elemental pickup matching our equipped super element. Since we are on void, this is going to be a void breach. And mind you, picking up a void breach created by elemental coalescence is also going to give us Devour thanks to our fragment. So it helps and adds that nice little bit more. We're going to put on Elemental Benevolence. Since we can give Overshield to our allies, this will make it so that we get some class ability energy back when we do so. Next, we're going to want That Fresh Bullet Smell. This is going to make it so when we pick up an ammo brick, it will give our kinetic weapons increased damage. Just another way we're going to stack more damage bonuses on top of each other. Then we're going to put Elemental Daze on. This is yet again to pair here with Overload Rapid Fire, and this is obviously for higher end content. Elemental Daze gonna make so that we can stun a champion with an elemental weapon, creates an elementally aligned explosion, applying a matching elemental debuff to them and nearby allies. Now I know you might be going, well, I'm using sweet business, that's a kinetic weapon, it doesn't have anything. And you're right. But this is a good one for higher end content because for one, there's nothing else better here in these columns. And this is going to be a very, very nice one to have if you're going to stun an enemy with, say, a different weapon. Maybe an SMG in your secondary slot or any other weapon here in your slots here. And last but not least, we're going to run Shield Crush. This is going to make it so that while we have a Void Overshield, our melee will recharge faster and deal increased damage. That's just going to be a nice little way of getting our shield throw back, and our shield throw also dealing more damage in general. So just a nice few mods here that is going to overall improve this build over the top. So with all of that being said, that's the end of the video. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this build. And while you're down there, if you like the video, then why not hit the like button, subscribe, comment, share, all that good jazz. Because it lets me know that you like the build videos and I enjoy making them. And it lets you join the family and stick around. Check out some of the older builds and some of the future builds coming up. With all of that, though, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, I will see you around the tower.